first of all, of course, measure is the wrong word because that suggests some quantification, which is impossible. There's nothing to measure. But how do you gauge? How do you think about the changes? And, you know, this is the biggest change in the environment that I've seen probably in my career. You know, we've gone from free trade or world trade and globalization to this system which implies significant restrictions on trade in every direction and a step toward isolation for the United States. I believe that the last 80 years since World War II have been the best economic period in the history of mankind, and one of the major reasons was the growth of trade. And I think that we have truly had a rising tide that lifted all boats, and trade was a big part of that. And everybody in the audience should understand the role of trade. Every country, for example, does some things better and worse. And worldwide welfare is maximized when every country does the things it does best and cheapest, and then sells them to the countries that need them, which do other things and sell them to other people. That's how trade works. And, well, I don't know if it's politically correct, but the good news is that the Italians make the pasta and the Swiss make the watches. But if we stop world trade and the Swiss have to make their own pasta and the Italians have to make their own watches, the world will probably be, well, maybe arguably people in both countries will be a little worse off. That's what we're talking about here. And we should not underestimate the benefits that we've gotten from globalization. And among other things, there was a 25-year period, which I cited in one of my memos 10 years ago, in which the cost of durables in the U.S. went down by 40% in inflation-adjusted terms. That kept a lid on inflation here. It made goods available cheaply to all Americans. If we don't have world trade, we don't have that benefit. And, you know, the tariffs are designed to encourage production at home, but who could imagine that most things produced in the United States will be as cheap as they are coming from abroad? In other words, things will cost more.
If that's the case, does that mean that you see the inflationary regime as being something that is more persistent, or a reversal of what we saw, the disinflation of the globalization?
Well, I think so. There were financial benefits from globalization, including keeping a lid on inflation. And, you know, if we hadn't bought our TV sets and appliances from abroad in that 25-year period at declining prices, what would inflation have been? And the answer is considerably more. Maybe not 2, but maybe 3, 4, 5. And so, you know, tariffs are an increased cost. Somebody has to pay them. And, you know, most people think the consumer will pay them. There's some possibility that the importer or the exporter will pay them, or the government of the exporting country. But it's an increased cost, the proceeds from which will go to the government. And, you know, will society be better off as a result?